Previously, if you're somebody who doesn't talk to anybody, you don't have any social skills, you don't have any presentation skills, but you don't communicate, you don't collaborate, but you were good at writing Java, for example, and you were really good at it, you still could get away and find a job. Why? Because there was a scarcity in people like this, okay? But right now, this level of scarcity is not going to be the same.
Hello and welcome everybody. My name is Dakota Nunley and I'm very excited to be joined by our very own Mohamed Sayed. Mohamed is the content learning architect here at Udacity, where he's led and launched a number of cutting-edge computing and AI programs. Mohamed, thanks for joining me today.
Hey Dakota, thank you so much for hosting us today.
Perfect. So I'd love to kick things off. So you're a content learning architect. I'd love to understand, what is that exactly, and what's your role at Udacity, and where do you and AI coding meet?
Yes. So content learning architect in Udacity, mainly I have three hats. So that's the architect hat, the first one. That's where I build tailored solutions for our clients, tailored learning solutions. And the other hat, that's where I take care of ongoing programs like any launches and any maintenance related stuff as well, like any programs that has some issues that needs to be updated, any codes that needs to be fixed to the latest version, all kind of that stuff. And last one is that I do work with our mentor network as well to make sure that our programs are always up to date.
Great. And so today we're going to be talking about AI coding, right? I'd love to start just understanding, can AI actually write good code, or is it just copy paste from Stack Overflow?
AI can actually write good code, but essentially it depends on the complexity of the task. So for simple problems, it often mimics like common solutions, like what a typical developer might write. Some problems are just obvious. So that's where AI really excels. But for really advanced stuff, this is where the human supervision or human oversight will have to come into and support AI.
Over the past 5 years, there's really been this shift that we've all seen with AI, particularly in all industries, but today we're talking about programmers. From your perspective, when it comes to programming pre-AI era and post-AI era, what is your perspective on the future of AI in coding, and how will it influence areas today's learners should prioritize, deprioritize in their learning?
Yeah, that's a very good question, actually. And I think a lot of people are thinking about it. If I'm joining web development specifically now, programming, and there's ChatGPT, why am I learning how to write code while ChatGPT can just give me that code? So the thing is, like, we're in the middle of transition, so questions like this are legit, they should exist. So the answer to that is that if you're joining pre-AI, you could get stuck just at the syntax level. So if you forgot a semicolon, if you don't know how the actual programming language you're using works, or you don't know how the program flows, like things like that could get you stuck. However, right now, if you're joining with AI in context, then you cannot be stuck because of syntax errors. It's not going to happen as a junior developer. Why? Because AI is going to take care of that layer for you. So the sweet spot is that you need to think of how to write good programs and how to problem solve rather than mastering the language itself. So you need to be comfortable with the language because that's the tool you're going to be using. But you don't need to really invest a lot of time in learning the syntax, learning semicolons, learning arrows, closing parentheses, opening parentheses. You need to know how they work. But just have that higher level of tolerance right now. If you're joining that, if you don't know it and it's confusing you, it's okay. You can proceed because with AI in place, it will take care of those until your skill actually sharpens. It's not like a pause in your career or like in your learning. You can just keep moving forward faster.
Yeah, it's similar to the habits we've all developed or undeveloped with Grammarly in our writing and emails. It's like, do we really know what the semicolon goes? Do we not? Should we learn it? Have you ever seen AI write code so bad it made you laugh out loud?
Yeah, that actually happens. especially when it hallucinates. So it just gives you code that doesn't make sense. But you really need to be doing something wrong for you to push AI to reach that point that is giving you wrong code. So it does happen, but I wouldn't say that's the norm, like all the time this is what's happening, but it does happen.
It sounds like it's all about the prompting there. What is the number one AI coding tool you can't live without?
Mainly, I would say GitHub Copilot. That's one of the go-to tools that's always just there in my VS Code and development environment. It just accelerates the whole thing. So if you're writing an app, any boilerplate code is just there for you with a click of a tab on your keyboard. Tons of codes are already written for you. That's in VS Code. But if I'm going to go outside the VS Code community, I'm someone who likes Cursor, which is basically a fork of VS Code. This one is paid, but it does the job. It's really good. So it creates the files for you. It writes the code. It does feel like you have a personal assistant inside your development environment, which is something really amazing.
On that note, so we've talked about tools, we've talked about the difference of pre-AI, post-AI. What, in your opinion, are the most essential skills in an AI programmer's toolkit right now?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And here's the thing. If you're going to become a programmer / developer / software engineer, essentially, you're a problem solver. So you need to know how to problem solve, smart, efficient, and optimal. So those are the main things that you really need to focus on, like problem solving, writing proper programs, thinking in a logical way. Basically, you need to exercise that brain muscle, like how you think as a programmer. That's the first asset you have as a developer or as an AI programmer. After that, now, if you need to sprinkle some AI, you need to learn some prompt engineering, how you can use GitHub Copilot if you're using it, or how you can utilize Cursor to its full potential if that's editor of choice you're using. So essentially, you need to be comfortable with the tools you're using as well. That's after you already built that muscle of problem solving, good logic, analysis, and all of that. If you're slightly, I would say, medium, senior, I would say mid-level to a senior level developer, you can focus on system design, architecture. So questions like that, that's something AI, as of now, is not really focused on. So AI can write so much code, but it does not think as an architect. So you are the person who's going to architect that framework, that library. You're the person who's going to create a new state-of-the-art thing that all other developers can use. So you can invest in that as well. So again, it depends on where you are. If you're a junior developer, okay, focus on learning the fundamentals, focus on problem solving, and learning the tools you're going to be using as an AI developer. And if you're somebody who's mid-level to a senior level, going for an architect level, then you need to focus on system architecture, design thinking, system design. So those are the set of topics that you really need to invest in.
On that note, what is the most overhyped aspect of AI coding? We see it everywhere. Every time you open your LinkedIn feed, There's a million prompt experts just hurling tips at you. What, in your opinion, is that most overhyped?
I think the most overhyped one is that AI will replace programmers. So I would say AI will replace programmers who are not going to adapt. That's it. So as a programmer, there's a new tool that has been released in your workflow that you start bringing into your workflow, learning how it works, increasing your productivity. All of those stuff you need to learn. If you stay the old way of building apps, you have to write every single line of code yourself. You're going to be the slowest person now in this era. So you really need to adapt. That's the spot that you keep yourself secured. And if I look back, probably before I even joined this career, is that the era before me or the generation before me, they did not have programming languages. So the languages themselves did not even exist. They used to write, modern programming language like C#, C++, PHP, JavaScript, all of those modern languages we're using did not exist before. So the older generation were using assemblies, they were using Fortran, they were using much harder languages than the ones we're using now. if by now they are coming to join and they want to develop code, they will also have to learn the new tools. So that's the higher level programming languages or the modern ones. And they will also have to top it with AI, prompt engineering, and all of that. So I would say you do need to adapt so you don't fall behind. But it's never going to replace people. Like, it's a productivity boost.
And it sounds like there's a fine balance here and discernment that's needed in terms of, how much to learn, how little to learn, what trends to pay attention to, what trends to kind of wait and be patient on to see if it's more something that'll fizzle out. How would you recommend programmers balancing AI assistance with developing their own problem-solving skills?
That's a good question. Mainly, if you're joining now as a new learner and you want to learn about coding and you have AI in place, the first thing you need to focus on is building that problem-solving skill, which means is that when you get stuck, for example, which is a normal thing while you're learning now, do not go to the AI. The first thing you need to do is to try yourself. Give yourself some time, troubleshoot the issue, give it a second look, spend around 15-20 minutes just you and the code. If you're still stuck, then you can go to the AI and start asking it, what's wrong in my code? How can I make it better? What did I forget here? Why is not running? Why is not working? And then take a look at the answer, reflect on the answer, and learn from it. But you always have to give yourself some space to try, because this is how we learn. Essentially, if we're not challenged, you're not going to be learning. So that's if you're a junior or somebody who's still learning, basically. If you're already working, think of your AI as part of the workflow. So do you have ChatGPT as part of your workflow? Okay, that's good. Let it do the stuff that's really repetitive for you. That's okay. If you have Copilot in place, let it write that line of code that seems like it's very obvious and you can definitely write it, but let it save you some time. So use it as a productivity tool. But if there is a thing that needs that human aspect, that's where you need to focus on it. That you need to write a certain algorithm, or you need to invest a little bit in your user interface, or you need to treat your backend, or you take a look at your database. This is where you have to go and do it yourself. And let AI be on the side. Whenever you need to ask a question, you can use it, but it's not going to do this thing for you.
In this era of AI, how can programmers future-proof their skill sets now?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So I think the number one skill that you need to learn is to definitely problem solving. Learn how to problem solve. Think as a developer. Practice algorithms. Try to challenge yourself, basically. That's something that's future-proof. Even if there is AI, you still need to think as a programmer. Another thing is interpersonal skills. So right now, let's look at it this way. Previously, if you're somebody who doesn't talk to anybody, you don't have any social skills, you don't have any presentation skills, but you don't communicate, you don't collaborate, but you were good at writing Java, for example, and you were really good at it, you still could get away and find a job. Why? Because there was a scarcity in people like this, okay? But right now, this level of scarcity is not going to be the same. There are so many people who will be enabled to learn Java faster or any programming language. That means like higher number of people are going to acquire the same skill sets they used to have. So the scarcity factor is no longer there. Okay, so you need to level up your game as well. How? Now I need to focus on other skill set. So I do have the coding one, but at the same time, I need to have communication. I need to understand other aspects of the business. If you're working in a software company, you need to have some understanding of product design, product development, just to have the fluency. So if you're in a meeting, you understand what are you building? You're writing code, but at the end of the day, this is a product that you're building. So you need to understand a little bit of that product vision. What does it mean? Where our company is going? Only technical. So your interpersonal skills, if you just finished a sprint and you want to present your work, you need to present it in a way that's actually convincing. Like at the end of the day, we're humans. You're working with humans. So really working on your interpersonal skills is a key thing now. So it's no longer just technical. You have to be somebody who people can work with, people can collaborate with. You need to be somebody who's approachable as well. So those skills are of value more than before now. It's not just technical.
Wow, that's fascinating. So it seems ironic that this AI tool, this robotic tool, is bringing people closer together in that sense, or making them connect more in the room versus then going off in their, the mad scientist lab to get things done. And shifting gears into your own experience in this field, I'm curious, what was your aha moment when you realized AI could actually help you code better?
I think I remember the first time I installed GitHub Copilot in VS Code, and it was just suggesting the code, it was predicting my next line, and I was fascinated. How could you know that I'm going to write this line now? So I still remember that moment. It was a moment like I felt empowered, to be honest. That line is so obvious. That next line is so obvious for all the programmers in the room. However, if there is somebody who knows it and they know how to write it for me, they just saved me a few keystrokes. I'm so grateful for that, so I can focus on my work. So, I do remember that feeling with GitHub Copilot.
I think that's a testament to like for programmers out there, whether you're aspiring or current programmers, of that mindset shift of opportunity when you see it predicting your code better, and then people who get scared and being like, oh, this is going to take a more scarcity minded. So it's great to see from the, a practitioner like yourself. In your opinion, what's missing from the collective conversation when it comes to coding with AI?
I feel a couple of things. First one is ethics, and the second one is going to be security. So ethics is basically that question like of estimates when it comes to time now. So if you're saying this software is going to take me 100 hours, is it actually going to take you the same 100 hours like before? Or now it's going to take you maybe 60 because you're using AI as part of your workflow. So there is a question of ethics now when it comes to estimations. That's something I also worry about, especially with people who work as freelancers. Like when it comes to estimates, that's a big chunk of their revenue or income, is that they have to estimate things right so they can get the right amount and charge the right amount. So that's something we need to think of. Another thing is security. So it's good that we have AI, but is this code secure? Are you just going to accept any code that gets written in as part of your code base without really double checking it for security? So that's something also that we need to think of. It's good to be enabled, it's good to be productive, but we always need to think of like ethics and security. Both go hand in hand.
With that in mind, would you, for people maybe listening or watching who haven't quite decided on a path yet for programming in AI, would you say cybersecurity presents a massive opportunity?
Absolutely. Cybersecurity as a career now is booming. It does have a lot of opportunities. Like, here is the thing. In this era, you need to have the mentality of an agile person. So if there is something that you feel like it will help you in your career, you have to learn it. So just because you're a software developer, front end, back end, full stack, you name it, it does not mean that you should not be able to become a cybersecurity specialist or a cybersecurity engineer. If there is an opportunity and you feel like this is the right track for yourself, go and learn it. So it's never going to be one career. I think the careers are going to be actually merged or joined somehow. That's because of the productivity boost everybody is going to have in both productivity, learning. So let's say it used to take a year for somebody to be an entry-level cybersecurity engineer. It's probably going to take 3 or 4 months now with how AI is coming into place in the learning platforms as well. So right now, if you go learn an nano degree or take a course on our platform, you're literally going to have ChatGPT, or we call it Udacity AI, is going to be just sitting next to you. If you need any help, you can talk to it about that current lesson you're going through, and it will answer. So it means you're not going to be stuck. You're going to learn faster. You're going to get your certificate quicker. So you can actually acquire more skills in a shorter time, and that will make you better in whatever career you're heading to.
Yeah, really highlights the effectiveness and the need and demand for more on-demand learning in that sense versus the more traditional structure that we grew up with. So let's do a hypothetical to wrap things up here. If a beginner programmer had 1 week to learn how to code with AI, what would be your advice, your playbook on picking up the skill quickly?
Yeah. Okay, this is fun. 1 week to learn. So let's assume it's going to be web development as well. I would say focus on the basics, understand what is this, what is that, how do they blend, how do you create a web page, how do you bring HTML, how do you bring CSS, how you put them together to create a good-looking web page. I would say also use AI Copilot as a personal mentor, so make sure it's part of your development environment there. Not a solution provider, but I would say it has to be there. And another thing is to practice prompt engineering. So you have the AI, but you also need to know how to use it. So you need some prompt engineering as well. And lastly, focus on understanding, not copying. So make sure that if you got some code from AI, you do understand it and you appreciate the fact that it's there and it's helping you, but you have to understand it. You can't be as like somebody who's bringing code, you copy paste it and it all goes. So AI give you the code, but you have the logic. So remain human.
Love that. Yeah, the best of both worlds there. Well, all right. Thank you so much, Mohamed, for the time and insights today. And for those listening, no matter what your professional goals are, we hope you uncovered some valuable insights during the discussion. And if you want to forge your future in tech, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the Udacity YouTube channel. We're going to have a lot of upcoming content like this going forward that we're excited about. And yeah, thanks again, Mohamed, and thanks everyone for watching. And we'll see you next time.
Yeah, thank you, Dakota. Bye-bye, everyone.